So the tomb just dropped, and today I've beaten the Easter egg. I've done pretty much the majority of the content as I've played all of today, and I wanted to give my honest review of this zombies map. Now, I know the community has been kind of sent into a hayfire, but I want to give my honest opinion. So let's start off with the positives, obviously without being toxically positive. Number one thing I want to say about this map is absolutely gorgeous. It is hands down the most beautiful zombies map we've seen since Black Ops 4, I would say. It's easily more beautiful than anything we saw in Cold War, which is really nice because a lot of people were complaining about each of those maps being like facilities. I'd even say it's the most beautiful Black Ops 6 zombies map we have to date, which is an amazing thing to say because beauty is a very important aspect of a zombies map. If it's not beautiful, a lot of the time you don't like playing it. And that's also something that I've seen with Liberty Falls, how people were upset that that map wasn't in the nighttime. To me, it doesn't matter. This map is set in the daytime and it still works. It's like a Shangri-La. And honestly, I like how each area is very different. A lot of people are comparing the spawn of this map to something like Terra Maledicta that you saw in Vanguard, or even something that we saw in Black Ops 2 like Buried. And also they're comparing the quick revive room even towards something like Frozen Dawn from the World War II zombies. And obviously the yellow portal side and also the green portal side to something that we've seen sort of like from the Chaos story, so Ancient Evil. And then obviously with the Pack-a-Punch main area here being something that is very, very reminiscent to the Modern Warfare 3 zombie skybox. And it makes me even question if it literally is the Modern Warfare 3 skybox. So ultimately, this map, in terms of the aesthetics, ultimately, I have to give it like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. It is absolutely stunning and breathtaking in a lot of regards. Even the boss fight arena is very, very beautiful. And honestly, another thing that I do like a lot about this map is I like a lot of the changes with the animations for the ice staff. I think the inspect looks great. I think the way the ice staff shoot looks great. I also like that now a full charge shot is only 3 bullets, whereas in Origins, you have the option in that game to do a half depreciated shot, so a 3 shot, or a 6 ammo per charge shot. And so another thing I really like is the ice staff is honestly not that difficult to fully upgrade. You can basically do it by round 10, and it's a fun upgrade process. Essentially, you just shoot a couple constellations on the wall, and then go into the Dark Ether, shoot a couple symbols. My only gripe, I think, about the upgrade process, and probably the most useless Easter egg step in this, is just something that is very arbitrary and they don't tell you. Essentially, I thought this Easter egg step was you have to shoot all of the lanterns around the map with the ice staff because they stop glowing with fire. But unfortunately, you just have to shoot 3 of them within a span of 10 seconds, which doesn't make any sense to me. I think that's probably the dumbest step of the entire Easter egg. But outside of that, the Easter egg, I think, is also quite fun. You do all the boss sort of trials. So you do a Vermin boss trial first, which is easy. Then you do the Parasite boss trial, which is also, honestly, probably the hardest one, which doesn't make sense because the Amalgam and the Doppelgast trials are literally the easiest. So not totally sure why that is. And also, one last positive that I can definitely give this game is I think this map has probably some of the best side Easter eggs already in Black Ops 6. And that to me is saying a lot, considering that Black Ops 6 Zombies has amazing side Easter eggs on Terminus, on Liberty Falls, even on Citadel. And so with this, I think they really did a good job with the side Easter egg. And honestly, the main quest in and of itself isn't too bad. I think my only issue with one of the side quests is the golden armor plate. To me, just seems a tad bit too difficult to get. I don't think that Treyarch really balanced it well enough for players that probably aren't really that skilled at Call of Duty Zombies. And considering that golden armor is almost a necessity for these type of players in the boss fight, I just think that that's a balancing issue that hopefully Treyarch fixes over time. And ultimately, I love the side Easter eggs with the golden ether tool. The jump scare is fun. It's very easy. And so honestly, there's a lot of good to be had in this map. However, there is, in my opinion, unfortunately, more bad. And it's just insane to me that Citadel just came before this map, and this map is such a contrast. And I know that Treyarch was trying to make this more like Liberty Falls, because apparently Liberty Falls was the #1 most played BO6 Zombies map. Two guesses why. It's because of the camo grind and also because of the directed mode. And to me, it sort of seems like Treyarch has done the same thing that they did with Cold War's Outbreak, where they're grabbing a lot of arbitrary data and not realizing why these modes are the most played mode. Because what happened with Cold War Outbreak is they put in Cold War Outbreak, it was the most played mode, and then they made MW3 Zombies, and as far as Activision's concerned in terms of sales, it pretty much did not do well as because a lot of the people and the hype cycle for that DLC was just pretty much non-existent. And so it's kind of the same thing that has happened again with Black Ops 6. Liberty Falls is the most played Zombies map, just because it's the one that people wanted to do camo grinding, and because of that, the stylization of this map is more like Liberty Falls. Is that necessarily a bad thing? No, I don't think it's a bad thing, but I don't think it's an excuse for the level of content and the way it was integrated onto this map. So let's start with the things that I don't necessarily really like, and some of the biggest issues I think I had with this map. And number one, the question that I kept asking while I was playing the Zombies map consistently over and over is why? Why do we have a Mimic again? Why is the Ice Staff back? Why are certain bosses spammed again and again on this map? Because a great example that I gave on my stream is, for example, with the Mimic. That is the new enemy type, the Shock Mimic, which ultimately doesn't really have that much of a difference other than it can shoot a little electric ball and take away some of your armor, which, okay, whatever. But the thing is at least in Firebase Z, I know a lot of people hate the Mimic step, but that Mimic step gave the lore as to why Mimics are a central fundamental piece of Firebase Z. And so ultimately, you don't find any of that in this map. There's no reason why the boss fight of this map is the Sentinel Artifact. There's no reason why we have the Mimic. There's no reason why we have the Ice Staff. There's no reason why the bosses are spammed over and over again. And it just detracts from the maps that it's taken from. And ultimately, one of my biggest gripes, I would say, is also the Ice Staff. While I love the Ice Staff, and I think some of the animations are cool, I find it very difficult to also tell when your shot is charged, because on Origins, you would have 3 lights that would glow up to basically signify if your staff was fully charged. Not on this. For some reason, it's just an audio cue, and sometimes it messes me up. And so that is a big game changer, especially because of how utilized the Ice Staff is for pretty much the main side Easter egg of this Easter egg, or this map, being the golden plates, and also for the boss fight. And so that's definitely one of my biggest gripes, and also what everybody is complaining about. The damage on the Ice Staff against boss zombies is absolutely horrific. It is so bad. And so I do not want, Treyarch, please, another Citadel Day more issue where we're having the swords getting nerfed and people are getting upset about that. It's just, to me, this is the way I see it, right? I really think that Liberty Falls, in a lot of aspects, is better than this map, and let me explain why. Liberty Falls does the justice to the jet gun, and what I mean by that is sure, it's from Transit, but they made the jet gun so much better in Liberty Falls that nobody really bats an eye to it, and I think that's what makes it so much fun. But the Ice Staff in this map does absolutely nothing to honor its legacy and origins. And it just almost feels like a spit in the face when you hear the Origins music and when you hear all that, and it just leads to nothing. That, I think, is the biggest red herring. And also another thing that I think is a little bit disappointing is depth perception. I thought for sure when they added Vulture Rage and Citadel, I was like, there's no way they're going to bring back depth perception. And so, okay, depth perception's back. But the one side Easter egg that you want depth perception for, it doesn't even work for. And I'm talking about the golden plate, where you bring the 2 heads to the statues, you spawn in 6 HVTs, and the map in the spawn gets all red. there's no point. The death perception perk doesn't even work there. And so maybe, hopefully, I'm praying that people find some sort of use for it for the augments. But it's just such a slap in the face when Kevin Drew has done an interview at the beginning of Black Ops 6 showcasing double tap. We've had bundled weapons showcasing double tap. And we are still not listening to the community, which goes directly against the sentiment that Kevin Drew himself started with BO6. And I want to just say this before I go on. I am in no means by blaming Kevin Drew here, because ultimately, I believe that this is just, again, another Activision fault here, where they see the data of one map, they want to replicate it, and it's obviously not as good as what it once was. And so I do not want anybody to go against Kevin Drew here. I think ultimately they did the best that they could, considering that this was the shortest amount of time between a Call of Duty Zombies launch ever. And that is very, very important. And so here we have the boss fight, obviously, of the map. And it's just insane to me because we go from a massive, amazing Kraken to even the Panos lockdown with a lot of lore. And then also to the amazing, amazing Stone Guardian that we saw in Citadel. And then this map, we're fighting a piece of furniture. We're fighting the Sentinel artifact. This is a mirror. So this is why, ultimately, I just believe that in terms of the boss fight, this map is really a massive, massive step down. I think, while yes, I do actually believe this is the hardest boss fight, I don't think that it adds anything to the map. Again, the ending cutscene, spoiler alert, there's no dialogue. And you can tell that the layoffs from all of the Black Ops 6 AI controversy has definitely affected this map's ending cutscene. There's also no intro cutscene. And so it goes to show, like, as well, with the tease of us going to Janus Towers for DLC 3, is the DLC just going to be prolonged? Like, where is Richtofen? Where is the story behind this? How is Richtofen and Primus just going to be shoehorned in the final Zombies map leading up to the leaks that we saw for Black Ops 7? Because that's seemingly what's happening. And so ultimately, while I can appreciate the difficulty of this map, where you see I'm running insta-kill, I'm running raindrops, I'm running idolize, and I do like that, I just think that the payoff of this map is just not it. And it really does feel like maps like Liberty Falls do this map better. They just do such a better job. Even Firebase Z has an original wonder weapon, original enemy that is explained inside of the map. So there's just a lot that I don't really understand with the making of this map. And ultimately, I was severely disappointed with the Easter egg ending cutscene, because it basically proves the leaks right. And it also proves, in my honest opinion, that we will have basically no conclusion for Richtofen and Primus and this Chaos story and the Sentinel artifact probably until DLC 4. And it just seems like another game where they prolonged the entire game to get to one plot point. This is something we also saw in BO4, where, again, that game was basically stretched out to have the Great War map, and then that map didn't come in because people weren't playing the original older DLCs. So that's really my 2 cents about the boss fight. While I like the boss fight, while I think it's interesting, a great example of why I think it's just not is just because of Voyage of Despair. Look at Voyage of Despair. In that map, sure, the Easter egg is bad. Sure, the wonder weapons are bad. Whatever. But at least I can give that map credit for turning the Sentinel artifact into the iceberg, which then turns into the Eye of Odin or Eye of Ra for that Zombies map and for the boss, which I think is amazing. I think, honestly, like, a lot of my problems with this map is, again, systematic issues with BO6, but also just artificial difficulty. There's a lot of wait time in this boss fight. There's a lot of wait time, even just, like, getting the golden plate and stuff. And I will admit, the golden plate is good, but it's not even as good as the version that we had in MW3 Zombies, where it instantly regenerated a whole plate. The way that it works in this map is quite slow. And so there's just a lot of little things that I've seen in this map where I do love the aesthetics and I do love the way this map looks, but gameplay-wise, to me, this is hands down the worst Black Ops 6 Zombies map for gameplay-wise, just in that regard. And just It's because nothing meshes well and makes sense on this map. To me, it's just unbelievable that we had Citadel with Voltrade making sense with the game because of the point system, and then also the swords and all the lore, and then understanding Richthofen. There's just nothing with this map. I don't really even understand Archibald. I get it that he's in the Sentinel artifact, but there's not much added, and you can tell that this guy was basically just brought into the map as exposition, and there's not really much of a point where we'll probably see him much in the future DLCs. And so, ultimately, even though I think this is one of the most beautiful zombies maps we've seen since Black Ops 4, it is a massive disappointment for me personally, because I do not like the reusing of the enemies with the amalgams. There's no point for the Doppelgas to be on this map. There's really even no point for the new enemy, the Shock Mimic, to be on this map, especially because it's just not even that different from the original Mimic. And the lore on this map, to me, is also just really non-existent, and I think that's really due to the Black Ops 6 voice actors leaving. Like, this map even has like an Origins dig up system, but then it also has like a Shadows of Evil pod system in the Dark Ether area. And so there's a lot that I don't understand. And I think that's the biggest issue people are having currently, is there's just not a lot that meshes really well with this map. While I think the difficulty is challenging and exciting, ultimately, I still think that the gameplay of this map really brings it down, and I think it doesn't help that the Ice Staff is not as powerful as the original version. I will say, though, it has a larger radius than the original version. It's actually a fun wonder weapon to use, but it's really going to come down to how this thing boils down to high rounds, and already on low rounds, the bosses are taking very little damage. They're not even affected by the Ice Staff. And ultimately, my chat was right by saying, why didn't we just get a Dark Ether staff? We've seen that in custom zombies on certain maps. And so, to me, it just begs the question, why? Why did all of this have to happen? And ultimately, because of its rushed release, we've never had a DLC 2 release in January, let alone sometimes we never even get a DLC 1 in January. And it definitely goes to show that something was really, really missing on this map. The new Gobblegums for this season, I also haven't really used. I think, honestly, the salvage one might be kind of useful. But obviously the Whimsical is just for fun, and then also the ammo mod. Maybe that one could be used in the boss fight quite well, because as you can see, you have a Doppelgast here, so for Lightmend, it's really, really powerful to use. But yeah, it's just a lot of things in this map don't really suit up well for me personally. I do think if you are a casual player and you like just playing a fun survival map, I think it's not bad. You can get an Ice Staff, you can get it upgraded very easily, you can just enjoy the map, but good luck getting the golden plates, and also good luck trying to do the boss fight, because, man, you're going to need to fully be stacked up, and it's going to be very interesting as well to see the speed runs of this map, because there's just certain things I don't get why they do. For example, in the gold plate armor side Easter egg, you can't use a chopper gunner in anywhere but the spawn. You can't use it for the side quests. You can't use the mutant injector. And it just seems like artificial difficulty. And that is the worst aspect to me of Black Ops 6, is an artificial difficulty. And so, while I think this boss fight is challenging, it's not fun like the Citadel Daymorph boss fight. It's not as thrilling as the Terminus boss fight. And in my opinion, I would have rather them just stick to something like the Panos lockdowns and just make it easier if they're going to make a more Liberty Falls styled map. Because, again, they're going away from the whole basis of what Black Ops 6 was for. And ultimately, this map does not really get me excited for Black Ops 6's future with Janus Towers as the next map. And I'm very nervous. I'm very nervous because there was no dialogue in this Easter egg cutscene. We know very little about the lore of this map. And I really hope that we do not get another sort of filler experience for DLC 3. I know a lot of leakers are saying we could be getting 5 DLCs, so we could be getting a third map, and so this could technically be a filler map, but to me, it does not honor the original map's material from where each aspect came from, like Death Perception or Ice Staff or the Mimic. There's just a lot to be desired with this map. And so ultimately, I think the final rating that I will give this map, to me, unfortunately, I have to say, personally, this is my least favorite zombies map in all of Black Ops 6. I would probably give it a 3 or 4 out of 10 and put it in the C tier, where we have Citadel in the S tier, Terminus in the A tier, Liberty Falls in the B tier. Unfortunately for me, this is the C tier zombies map, and I just can't see many people talking or playing this map for too much longer.